Hello, everybody. We're back for another round of Truth or Skepticism. Hello, Mr. Radigan. Another
How are you? I'm just looking at the rally here.
Another Fed day. Another. If it's Wednesday, it must be Fed day. If it's Wednesday, we must be rallying. S&P's just rallied from down a couple of handles to up 20. Nasdaq just rallied an easy 100 handles, like it was, knife through butter. And here we go again. Here we go, loop de loop
again, and yet I know both of us sit in the chair of a skeptic, but humble skeptics, both of us at this point.
Yeah, well,
have you been humbled as yet by virtue of what continues to occur here?
Yeah.
Or do you maintain your bearishness?
No, I've maintained my positions. I haven't added to any positions. I wasn't convinced that the market was going to throw me a bone today. I didn't feel very confident, and I was correct in that assessment. So I kind of just I haven't really done much today. I haven't. Let's put it this way: I haven't loaded the boat yet. I haven't loaded the flotola. So I'm kind of watching, and I'll see what happens. I didn't think this rally would hold. We'll see.
Are you inclined to, at the very least, NVIDIA? I mean, some of these names just are begging for some fool to bet against them. But again, I guess
I've already
some fool.
I've already bet against NVIDIA, and I lost.
You and me both.
Yeah. So I bet, and things did not work out according to plan. I'm just taking a look here. Yeah, I bet against NVIDIA. It didn't work, so I am now back to I'm shorted, but I'm not like in a killer spot.
How about if you can't beat them, join them?
That's not my style. That would be the style of somebody that can trade both sides of the market. I am very much a one-dimensional player. Meaning, once I'm on,
you're looking for a price extreme to the upside that is unsustainable is your specialty.
I fade all moves. It's kind of my MO in the markets. I'm a fader. I don't really roll with any trends. I never have. I don't think I'm capable of it. I pick my spots and fade trends in every which way. I just sold some futures here, actually. I mean, I'll buy them back if they trade down to my number, but they haven't got there yet. But yeah, I'm a fader.
Like instead of Darth Vader, you're Darth Fader.
Darth Vader. Yes, same thing. All right. So
anyway. I mean, in the can't beat them, join them front, I know where we're going. But how can the Reddit IPO not just be more fuel for ebullience and joy and cryptomania? It seems like the Reddit IPO is fuel for the optimistic fire of this market.
Well, what's funny? Oh, I just got filled. Actually, nice. What's funny about Reddit is that. So. I kind of feel like Reddit. Let's talk Reddit today, okay? Let's talk about Reddit because I've been preparing some stuff on it. In full disclosure, because I don't think I've told you this, I am a Reddit shareholder. There was a time about a year ago when some insiders were trying to get out, and so they put together an offering, and a bunch of, I guess, traders in Chicago bought some stock. Let's put it this way: the hard part about buying, I've done this before, bought some stock when companies are private, and unless they go public, you're screwed. Like,
sure, that's for sure.
It's an illiquid trade. You have no idea if you're overpaying. You have to pay ridiculous fees. The whole thing kind of stinks. It's a.
Yeah.
I want to say
It's a 20, it's a bid ask is implicitly 15 to 20% wide.
Oh God, yeah.
And actually it's zero because there is no exit.
And there is no exit. There's literally no exit. If Reddit decided they didn't want to go public or whatever it is, you're stuck with the stock for 10 years and you can't get out, whatever. It sucks. So, but I figured I don't do it very often. And I kind of felt like a couple of years ago, Reddit was going to go public when they were over 10 billion. And this time they were down to 5 billion. So I figured, you know what? It's probably a decent risk reward. And I don't really go long a lot of stocks. So I figured I'll take a small shot. So I did. So that's full disclosure. I'm just long a little bit. I can't sell it.
Tomorrow's a happy day in the Sosnoff.
No. You can't sell it. I can't sell it for 6 months.
Even after the fact, you're still locked up for some duration.
Yeah, 6 months or something like that. At least 6 months, 9 months. I'm locked up. I can't do anything.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. And you can't hedge it. There's nothing you can do. Like you can't sell short against it. You can't do anything. So so I don't really care that much. I mean I care, but I don't care. But I've always been fascinated by Reddit because unlike other social media apps, which I'm obviously I wrote about it the past weekend, like the TikTok ban really bothers me because I'm a huge TikTok fan. And I also believe that we have a lot bigger fish to fry in this world than TikTok. We don't need 81% bipartisan approval on a ban of TikTok when we can't get 81% on healthcare or anything, nothing, virtually zero. So it really bothers me. But I do like the idea of Reddit being public because I like the idea that there is going to be a very tradable social media app. B, I like the fact that Reddit isn't just short form videos. It's actually people that write stuff down. I like the fact that they are self-policed because I've always felt that markets that are self-policed or products that are self-policed are really interesting to me. The trading pits were the same way. They were always self-policed. And I always felt like, oh my God, this is why Open Outcry works, is because it's self-policed. And so I have always kind of loved the Reddit model, but I never really cared the fact that they didn't make money because they've always been able to raise money, and they have created some revenue, but they've always been able to raise money. And I've never really cared, the fact that Reddit hasn't been profitable or any of that kind of stuff. And I've just felt, okay, this is a very interesting product that they've created. They have a huge following, and given what's going on now in TikTok and things like that, we need to support, our social media apps because these things are, I like them. They're good. They're helpful. Tasty has a subreddit on for Tasty now, and we're clearly it's part of our culture as well. And so, and what I also found very interesting about Reddit was that when you read about it, most of the Redditors are incredibly bearish on this IPO. And I find that so interesting because they're bearish because they're mad. They're bearish because they feel like the marketplace.
Other people are getting access to the club.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've always perceived Reddit in that way, where Reddit is the most cult-like because of the self-policing, because it's more demanding for the users because of all the writing and the linking and it's not as simple as kicking off a picture or putting a caption or whatever. So there's a perception of more gravitas and more sort of more self-importance to the Reddit user than your average TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And so I actually think it's quite entertaining that the Redditors are offended. And who could blame them?
Me too. That's my point. Me too. I think it's.
You're offended?
No, not offended. I'm entertained by it. I think it's great.
You appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I would be the same exact way. It's I feel like it's actually. I feel like it's a kind of a wonderful thing that they're mad. They're mad that the company's going public. It's for a certain price. It's like they don't want the founders to leave. They don't want everybody to leave. Even when you try to rip on the company, like the CEO just was awarded I forgot what his name is, but young guy he was awarded like, I don't know, 180, 190 million dollars worth of like stock options. And it looked like his package was huge. You know, the whole package they offered him was just massive. But the reality is that he had quit, sold all his stock, had nothing, essentially came back and then got all these incentives and whatever. It's not really cash. But I just find the whole Reddit story to be really interesting. And I also feel like if there was ever a company that needed to go public in order to force them to create a model that they can monetize and that they can turn into something that works, this is the company. Like sometimes a company needs to go public.
But let's get into this because Reddit is the closest thing to a social media cult, and the equity, the perception of equity in Reddit resides more with the users than with any other social media platform, right? Where the users are like, Reddit is mine because of the self-policing, because of all the things that we've talked about.
Right.
And so to take something that's mine and then sell it off to a bunch of jambonis who are just looking to make money buying and selling stock, they wouldn't know the time of day to how to moderate a subreddit or anything like it. And all of a sudden you're going to have like a resentful user base that doesn't want to be monetized. At the same moment, you now have an entirely new shareholder base that's going to apply the pressure you were just referencing, which is now it's time to make money. You got to figure it out. Subscribers, ads, all that.
I actually think it's good for, like, that was my whole point. I think it's actually good for Reddit. I think it takes them out of kind of the dark ages into kind of the modern social media era where you can make Reddit a better Reddit can be a better platform. Their technology to me is dated. It's a little old. The look and feel, like I feel like everybody that's on Reddit is what we used to call like a baseball purist. Like the people that didn't want the game to be shortened. No instant replay, no pitch clock, no automated umpires. All the things that'll make baseball so much better. Everything will speed up the game to make the game so much better. Like all these purists were like, no, that's not why we go to the park. We go there to sit there for 8 hours to do nothing, to keep score up by hand and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like Reddit's the same thing. And Reddit is going to, I think it has the potential to become something really special in the social media kind of world as soon as they're allowed to kind of open up and not expose the purists, but introduce kind of a new group into the, they have this whole monitor thing, these monitors that essentially, the Redditors that essentially manage all the subreddits. And what's interesting to me is that they're giving them the opportunity to buy stock on the IPO, and with no holding period.
At the allocation price, not in the secondary market.
Right, at the allocation price. And and they don't have to hold it. So, So they can sell it out. They can take some profits. They can do whatever they want if the stock's up, and which I think is really interesting. Now, my own experience says when this stuff happens, everybody says, "Oh my God, they're just going to blow it out at the market and take their profits." Never. They're never ever going to do it. Every single one of them is going to hold this because that's the way.
It's like a crypto play. I feel like Reddit stock.
It is exactly. It's a crypto play. Reddit is a crypto play. Like everybody said, I was doing an interview this morning and somebody said to me, do you think they're all going to blow out this stock? And I'm like, and I didn't answer it the right way. I was like, well, I'm glad they have the opportunity to, but I don't know what they're going to do. And I thought about it later and I'm like, God, that was the wrong answer. The right answer is this is a freaking crypto play. Not one of them is going to sell the stock. They're all going to hold the stock.
Because I knew we were going to talk about this from our phone conversation earlier today. And so I was like, I started really poking around into the whole thing, looking for, is this a referendum? Is this some sort of indication on the IPO market, the health of the capital markets? Is this, how does this stack up against Instagram or Meta or whatever? And honestly, I couldn't find any relevant reference that I could take credibly, either for the health of the IPO market or relative to any of the social media platforms. but because of the cultish following and the nature of it, it's a crypto play, which almost makes I feel like it's more likely to trade in a correlation with Ethereum than it is with anything else.
I don't think about it from a correlation standpoint. I think about it from more of the cultish standpoint. And I just feel like it's one of those plays where if you where the anybody that buys a stock that is a Redditor is going to hold the stock because for the first time they get to participate in the success. And I don't know if they really believe that this company can actually monetize the platform, but I believe as an outsider, I think I have a clearer picture. I think I'm not as close. I don't care as much, and I believe that they will learn to monetize it. And I think that's really interesting. The other thing is, I think it's going to trade at a volatility that is not exactly crypto, but much closer to crypto than it would be to other social media apps per se. So I think that it's going to, it's going to move 4 or 5% a day, which is like pretty close to a 60 to 80% implied volatility. Now, it won't be that expensive a stock, but it's still going to have a pretty big move every day. So I think that it's that would be my pre-IPO pricing. If I was pricing it, I'd price it like 60 to 75% implied volatility in that range.
Well, also, I mean, it wasn't so much of what happened during the pandemic with GameStop and whatever the other one was. I forget, it was a movie theater company or whatever.
Oh, AMC. You're talking about AMC and BBY and all.
Wasn't all that really driven by the Redditors?
Yeah, sure.
Wasn't it Reddit that drove the sort of the core activation and sort of madness of that whole movement?
It was the subreddit, a Reddit group. Yeah, sure. And there's movies on it.
But it was a subreddit. It wasn't a sub Instagram or a sub.
No. It was all subreddits, and now there's movies, and now there's there's movies, there's books, there's documentaries. It's fascinating.
So I feel like you got to buy Reddit tomorrow, just on the mania, just on the insanity. I mean, I think this. So first of all, they're saying they're going to price it 31 to 34, right? That and for sure, and anybody who's been around the IPO market knows if it prices above the range, it means that it's going to go cuckoo bananas, right? And so I'm expecting this thing will price out at 35, 36. Like they'll be like, oh, we're $1 over the range, which would be the sort of canary in the coal mine for the fact that it's going to open at 77 tomorrow. I feel like we're going to see something with.
I don't think you're gonna see that, but I do think it's going to be interesting because I think, first of all, there has been virtually no IPOs, and the last IPO that was big and interesting, and Reddit's tiny. Like we're talking $6-7 billion. I mean, it's literally nothing. But when you look at ARM. And you look at, what's happened in some of the chip stocks, and you're thinking about the number of IPOs that are out there. It's really small. I mean, Birkenstock. I'm just trying to think what we've seen this year. ARM, Birkenstock, Instacart. I guess you can consider that. I mean, the number's tiny, Dylan.
You're talking about cult stocks, basically.
No. I'm talking about just IPOs. There just haven't been
anything.
Just anything. There just haven't been a lot. You see, what happens in this market, there's been a lot of deals being done where companies get bought out and we lose them. But they're usually replaced by a lot of IPOs. You have companies that go out of business. You have companies that get bought out. You have companies that get taken private. Okay. And they're usually replaced by new IPOs. But there's been almost no new IPOs out there. Everybody got so soured on the whole SPAC marketplace that the IPO marketplace just died. So I think that
not only that, but they created this whole. They started bumping the privately held valuations, as you know. The Uber story is sort of the classic one, where going public was something that no one wanted to do anymore because it would force them to basically price a down round because they'd sort of self-enriched so aggressively on the private markets that there was no place to exit.
Yeah.
Reddit obviously doesn't have that problem.
Right, exactly. And I think that we're, listen, I think the marketplace is just begging, not even for a story, but I think that just we need some IPOs. Like in the business that we're in, we need new blood. It's almost like a poker table. You got a bunch of old, of kind of like just old poker players, diehards, just guys that have been, they're almost like gym rats, they're poker rats. And they're just sitting around there. This is what they do. And you're just waiting for some, fresh meat. You gotta have somebody new.
I agree with you, but I feel like Reddit doesn't actually solve that problem. It's one thing if like when the IPO market opens up for, let's say, biotech, or it opens up for, I don't know, retail concepts, the microbrewers or whatever it was decades ago, or whatever it is. Like, I don't see how Reddit is opening a narrative channel for the capital markets, so much as it is just a one-off offering from what would otherwise be a long-time favorite of its own cult. So my first job at Bloomberg was as the IPO reporter, and it was like the greatest because it was the late 90s, and it was, the Netscape IPO. I mean, the list of IPOs between 1996 and 1999 was mind-boggling. And I agree with you. Like, there's nothing more fun than bringing new players to the table.
Yeah,
they're already money and all that. It's the greatest, right? You're like, oh, who's this?
Yeah,
guy?
you don't want to have 98 and 99 all over again, where you're bringing crap out at ridiculous prices. Like what happened to the IPO market was it got blowed up by all the SPACs. I mean, they turned off an entire generation to IPOs because the institutional pipeline to the SPAC marketplace, I mean, it turned out to be like the scam of the century. And it just destroyed that marketplace now for multiple years. So, now you got to be a real company. You don't have to have real revenue, but you have to be a real company. And like a company like Reddit, well, they've been around 20 years, right? At least 20 years. So they're legit. I mean, as far as they're a real company.
They're for sure a company.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a few hundred million users. It's a very interesting story. And I also think
that's why I don't see them as a bellwether. I see them as a one-off.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't see it as an indication of any broader. I wish it had a broader implication, but I feel like it's more like the Saudi Aramco IPO, where you're like, okay, well, the Saudi Arabians want to change their capital structure, which is good for them, but it's irrelevant to the broader marketplace. I'm like, okay, Reddit wants to change its capital structure, which is good for Reddit, but doesn't have an implication beyond itself.
Yeah, the only difference is the Saudi Aramco thing was, 1.5 trillion.
No, I understand. That's maybe not the best comp.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in terms of a self-contained event as opposed to an indication of things to come.
Yeah. So, and I also think that Reddit also defines kind of a millennial generation. Like, I feel like they, this is a little bit of their app, and they get a right to, to pound their chest a little bit. So I kind of think, that's a good thing too. Like, it's not too political. It's not, for example, it's not Truth Social. Okay. It's not something like that. And it's not Twitter.
It's not even Facebook and Twitter, which have their own sort of.
Yeah. No, they have their own issues, whatever you want to say. So,
well, their own optics and their own
optics. That's a better word. And so I feel like this is the app of a certain generation. That's what makes it so interesting. And yeah, I kind of like the story here. I hope for our sake, it's a good trading vehicle because it's right in the price range of a company that, it could be okay. I don't know. It might be too small. It might be too small.
Personally, I feel like Reddit is pound for pound the best of all the social media networks, meaning it's not politicized. It's not best in the sense of the quality of the nature of the content and the culture, the self-moderation, all those things. But I also think those are the things that both make it more insular, but also less scalable, because scale in social media is best achieved through cheap, primitive provocation, manipulation, and, deception, which is the primary currency of the big social networks.
Well, the only thing I'll say about
Maybe not deception, but extremism and sort of manipulation.
it can never be the best app ever, because TikTok could never be knocked off the top. TikTok is that much better than.
But it's a categorically different. I mean,
I understand. But if we're talking about putting all the social media apps in the world together and saying, take a look at what we've got here, TikTok stands alone. I don't even think anything's in the same league as TikTok. But Reddit has the potential to be the most objective, to be one of the more interesting apps, because it does require that people write and read, which is a little bit different in this era, which is kind of it's a positive commentary on our world right now that, hey, we are supporting an app where people have to read and write. And it covers a lot of freaking topics.
All the topics. I mean, the thing is, Reddit has any topic anyway. I feel like we are giving ourselves a little bit of a runaround of ourselves here, because I think we both have fallen in love with Reddit.
Okay, all right, let's move on.
The last 30 minutes.
Let's move on.
But I think that the headline is Reddit is the newest crypto.
I think that is
Reddit
really
is
good.
not a stock, it's a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to write a story on that, because I never thought about that before, and now I love it. That's what it is.
And it will behave that way, like it will do these things, and it's sort of it'll all the things.
Yeah, yeah. I think people will hold it like they will hold a cryptocurrency. I think it is exactly that.
Which makes me more inclined to consider buying it.
Well, buy the dip.
Before we let this go, just for old time's sake, what's your prediction tomorrow? Does it price above the range? Does it price in the range? Does it break? Does it spike? All these unanswerable
I think it prices above the range. I think it prices around between 38 and 42. No. I think it prices in the range around 33, but I think it opens 38 to 42.
So you think they get it off in the range, and then it opens $5 higher?
Yep, I think so. Yep.
And would you add to your existing Reddit position?
No.
And what did you buy it at out of curiosity, as a discount to, let's say, a $40 price publicly traded? 20 or something?
I do not. No, much higher. I paid a 5 on the price was the equivalent of a $5 billion valuation. I can't.
This is 6.5, and this is going out at 6.5.
Yeah, so 30, so 27 and a half or something like that. I think that's
so not that much of a discount.
No, in fact, after we did it, they said they're going to go public at $5 billion, and we thought, oh man, this is a losing trade. Like, and we were lucky that they even went public, because they didn't go public. We could never get out. I didn't. It was just a shot. I'm a risk taker.
Have you done this before?
One other time, and it did not work out.
It did not work out?
No.
Because it went public and was a bust, or because there was no exit? It was a Hotel California kind of situation.
It was a never went public.
Okay, so you checked in, you couldn't check out.
Checked in, couldn't check out. They went out of business.
My favorite thing you ever told me, because you have so much apparent success as a businessman, or as an entrepreneur, I won't even say as a businessman, but your point is, you made a point to me a long time ago. You're like, every time I get a business where, like, I do it all the time, and I go in every morning, and it's my people and my idea. You're like, sure, we have our problems, but more often than not, it works out, and we've made some things, and we've done some things. And then you're like, other times somebody comes to me like, hey, party boy, I got a restaurant, or I got a side deal on a privately thing, or we're making a movie, or whatever, all the sort of deals that flip flop around. You're like, every single time, nope.
No, exactly. I did a whole show on it this year. I mean, last year on a good trade, bad trade type thing. And on our whole bad trader tour, I had like 35 in a row that didn't work. I mean, you don't know. You're just like, as an investor, it's impossible for individuals like me or you or anybody to vet a deal. Like you gotta. It's just you close your eyes, you take your chances. I don't know. It's really impossible. I can't help
Does it make you less inclined to do those sorts of things, or
No.
you'll still take a shot here and there when?
I'll tell you why. I have a very good reason why I do all that crazy stuff. Because when I was 23 and I came to Chicago, I didn't have any money, and somebody who did not know me, who I never met, put up $100,000. Somebody through a friend of a friend who I never ever met said, "I'll take a shot with this kid," and he put up $100,000.
And what did he? And he just knew you were young, basically.
He didn't know anything. He never met me, never even talked to me. Just trusted one of his friends, and the guy put up $100,000.
A friend. And what did the friend of his? What was the basis? So what did the friend say to the guy about you that you think was persuasive?
He didn't say anything about me.
Young hustle, he'll show up.
No. No, he was just he had started trading on the floor and he was making money. So he thought, oh, if I can do it, anybody can do it type thing. And so he convinced his buddy to.
You're saying your buddy was making money and he's like, if I can do this, you can do this. Let's get you $100,000.
He told somebody, yeah. Anyway, so this guy that never met me took a $100,000 shot in like 1981, which was like $1 million then.
$1 million shot.
Yeah, and so because of that, I've always said, and I've lost millions and millions and millions of dollars investing in other things. But because of that, I've always blindly done a lot of things because you kind of never know. And this guy, I tripled his money and bought him out, but he was happy.
Speaking of the kids, do you think that the current generation is different from previous generations, or do you think that it's permanent that we think of the younger people as different throughout time, but the reality is that the younger generation is always both the same and different, i.e., creative, rebellious, resentful, happy, sad, all the sort of dynamics? Or do you think that the current crop of 20-year-olds is different than the crop of than those from times of yore?
I think that the current crop of 20-year-olds is a little different. I don't think in a bad way at all. But I think you can probably go back and for almost every single generation, you can say that the current crop of 20-year-olds is a little bit different. Like everybody likes to think of themselves as this hardened, crusty,
elder figure,
experience, walk barefoot in the snow type of, that's how everybody likes to think of themselves. And I feel like, and we always like to think of the youngest generation as kind of being, naive and soft and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure how much of it is true. I'm not sure how much of it is true. As somebody that employs a lot of young kids, I always kind of want that to be true in a way, so I could say, back in when we were kids, but they're all they're pretty damn good.
No, I mean, I honestly, the reason I brought it up is because I have been working with and around a bunch of these that people from that generation, and I think they're kind of great.
Yeah, me too.
I think they might be better than us. Not I don't mean in the sense of smarter or harder working, but just that their worldview is a little bit less self-obsessed than I felt like mine and my friends and my colleagues. Everybody's like, oh, I want to get this job, or I want to get these material objectives, this type of work, this type of apartment, this type of whatever. And I just feel like the current generation is actually maybe better than the rest of us in the sense of their actual desire to be helpful to other people.
They may be. They may be a little more grounded. They have access to. I think they're smarter. They may be a little.
So do.
Yeah, they could be, and I think that they have access to a lot more stuff than we did. Information. You know,
and the means of communication and the cross-border thing and it doesn't matter which town you're from. So I mean, it used to be geography was destiny, right? And now you can have a kid from wherever, and they're friends with somebody in 10 other countries and whatever. They're all musicians, or I don't even know these things. I just feel like there's a level of connectivity that exists in this generation. I know there's a level of connectivity in this generation, but I think the consequence of that connectivity may be to their benefit, which also gave me a little bit of optimism for the future of the world. Because I'm like, oh, if we're making better human beings, then perhaps we can also make better decisions for the future of the earth.
You would like to think, which is one of the reasons that we would like to push the age down of our politicians and the people that make decisions, because I think you just summed up a lot of the reasons why. And, you know, that's a big part of the equation, I think. Yeah, I would have a hard time arguing against, you know, I couldn't argue against, let's put it this way. I couldn't make a strong argument that today's generation that's about to enter the workforce is in any way, shape, or form going to hurt the economy going forward. If anything, I think it's going to be probably a pretty good sized boost.
I completely agree with this, and now who knows? They may defy us, but I just feel like
that's why I'm not buying into. That's why
young people are giving me hope.
Well, that's why I'm not buying into this whole, you know, into a recession or into kind of this any kind of a big pullback of any kind, just because I feel like there's just too much talent and there's too much desire. There's too many smart people, you know. I kind of feel good looking into the future.
I agree. I almost wonder if it's sort of like the reaction to the absurdity of the presidential situation. It's like a reaction to that is this vitality in the youth that because of the dead calcified carcass that is the American political leadership, that it could have inspires an opposite type reaction to this really vital younger generation.
There's a saying I used to have that there's a saying I have, and I used to have, there's a saying I have that I think sums it up quite well, which is good kids come from bad parents.
Yeah. Well, it's also it's like good markets make bad deals and bad deals make bad markets and bad markets make good deals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same premise. Good kids come from bad parents.
Yeah.
I think I completely agree with that. Not that I want to indict my entire generation or yours for bad parenting.
I understand that, but I'm just saying
be what it is.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, today's kids are pretty good considering that our generation might not be as wonderful, or the generation before us. Who knows? Anyway, all right, that was a very different, very fun discussion. If you missed from the beginning, Dylan and I talked about Reddit, much about the IPO, which is being priced tonight, which is going live tomorrow. But more importantly, it's a social media app that we think has that closely correlates with digital assets in a strange way. And I like that. I like that direction a lot, Dylan.
Same user, same buyer, different. You know, it's the same. It's the same thing, not because of what it is, but because of who is using it, who's owning it.
Well, the really funny thing about that is I asked my son, who is 31, and I said, "What do you think about Reddit?" And his response to me was, and he's one of these guys that he doesn't say I love. He rarely says like I love things. Like I don't, you know, he'll say
he's more of a low key kind of guy.
Yeah. Like he'll say I love ETH. Like he will say he wants to own, like he would mortgage his house, his condo, to buy Ethereum if he could. And in Reddit, he's like, I love Reddit. Like he doesn't say that. He would never say I love TikTok. He would never say I love Facebook, you know, or anything. But Reddit, it's like, Dad, I love Reddit. All right.
Listen, we'll take his word.
I'm Tom Sosnoff. He's Dylan Radigan. We'll see you next Wednesday, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Truth or Skepticism. Thanks, Dylan.
Bye, Tom.